Could you turn to page 8 of your report, table 6 that you referred to in your presentation?
Sure.
The first line of that is the traffic, AM, PM, and Saturday rush hour for the existing shopping center. And I was trying to find out where those numbers came from. I didn't see a reference to anything in your narrative on page.
We're going to call the meeting to order. This is the Township of Springfield Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. Okay.
Instant replay.
I just wanted to make sure everybody was paying attention.
Pause 1 second. Are we still recording? Okay. All right.
Okay, I'm on, again, table 6, the very first line, the numbers for the existing shopping center. I didn't see a reference in the narrative on page 8 as to how that was calculated. I looked through the appendices. I didn't see anything. I know you got a 191-page report. I may have missed something, but could you direct me to the place where that explains how these numbers were calculated?
Sure, and I apologize if it was inadvertently left out of the narrative of the report. So the numbers in Table 6, which is located on page 8, it's the Institute of Transportation Engineers drip generation projections for the 49,800 square foot shopping center. Those were calculated based on data published in the Land Use Code 820, which is the shopping center subset.
And again, you took the gross numbers and you subtracted out passersby?
Correct.
Were you involved, or was your company involved in the preparation of the traffic study for the Chick-fil-A store in Union?
We were.
Did the Union traffic study use the same methodology that you're using here? In other words, did you rely upon the Land Use Code 934 to project traffic volumes?
I didn't prepare that traffic study myself, but yeah, it would be my understanding that we used the Land Use Code 934 for all Chick-fil-A development applications.
Are you aware that in November 2020, a New Jersey judge issued a restraining order that temporarily closed Chick-fil-A's drive-through because of traffic problems, and the traffic problems caused by the drive-through?
I am.
If the Union traffic study used Land Use Code 934 methodology to persuade the Union Board that there would be no traffic problems, and it ultimately turned out that there were traffic problems, at least according to one New Jersey judge, isn't that a red flag that should cause us to have some skepticism about using the Land Use Code 934 methodology in all circumstances?
Not in my professional opinion, sir. It's a function of the drive-through operations, and again, that's what's caused Chick-fil-A to evaluate much larger sites, such as the one that we're presenting before you this evening, that typically they wouldn't have considered, years ago. That typically fast food restaurant facilities were looking at smaller area sites. So looking at a larger site affords us the ability to provide a double drive-through lane that can stack 39 vehicles, and really that's what's driving the overall operations of the site, not the Land Use Code data subset.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to compare the design of Union and Springfield. What I'm getting at is if there was a methodology that was used for the Union site and it turned out to be flawed, isn't that a red flag? Isn't that something that suggests we should look extra hard at the Code 934 data in this case?
No, again, and what I just iterated before is the Union site can only stack 18 cars in the drive-through. So, that's the limiting factor for that facility, as well as the fact that it's located in the center median of Route 22. So I know you're driving at the fact that it's the data subset, but it's not. It's the drive-through operations. The drive-through queue are what caused the operational problems on the site. So the fact that we're providing double the drive-through stacking on this site is a much betterment when comparing the two facilities.
And I fully understand what you're saying. My point that I'm trying to get you to comment on is something went wrong with the union study. The union study that your company prepared that used the code 934 data said, this is hunky-dory, this is fine, this is going to work, but it didn't work. Doesn't that raise some concern?
And again, as I stipulated twice, and for the third time now, it's related to the drive-through operations, which is what's caused Chick-fil-A to reevaluate the sites that it's considering and go to a design where we can accommodate a double drive-through, dual order points, dual fulfillment points. It's processing the drive-through vehicles in a more efficient manner.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions for this witness from the public? Good evening.
Good evening. Michael Furci, 139 Hillside Avenue, F-U-R-C-I. The first part of your testimony...
Sorry, just if you could try to speak into the mic a little louder.
The first part
Thank
of your
you.
testimony, you spoke of the traffic on 22 and some kind of 50% number. That's the number of cars that would have been there anyway. Is that what you're...
Sure, that was specific to the trip generation, which we were just speaking about for the Chick-fil-A development. Right, so they categorize trips to the subject property in two categories: new trips, which are new cars that aren't currently on the roadway network, and pass-by trips. Pass-by trips are the ones that are currently on 22 or Hillside Avenue that upon redevelopment of this site would then utilize the facility. So they're turning in and out of the driveways, but they're already on 22 westbound or Hillside Avenue.
And you estimate that number will be higher, right?
Yes, so it's approximately 50% of the weekday morning and evening traffic, and that's...
So can we assume the same thing on Hillside Avenue?
We didn't. We assumed the pass-by percentage for the traffic was weighted much heavier towards the 22. We actually assumed 80% of the pass-by traffic was going to be off of Route 22.
So there would be only a 20% increase of traffic on Hillside Avenue?
So it gets complicated. It's a lot of numbers, and I apologize for not being clear. So 20% of the pass-by traffic so those vehicles are actually already on Hillside. So that's not new additional traffic on Hillside. Conservatively, we looked at about, and I'll spoke of this earlier, it's approximately 100 vehicles during the peak hour, 100 trips during the peak hour that would be added to Hillside Avenue, new trips that aren't currently on the road today. So it's approximately one to two trips every minute during the hour.
So can you tell me how many cars you think are going to be additionally on Hillside Avenue?
That was that number.
Which is?
100.
100? So there'll be 100?
So it's, and let me just clarify. So a trip is in and out. So it could be 50 vehicles, assuming that the vehicle is going to enter and exit, which I think is a reasonable assumption in a single hour.
All right, so 100 trips during the course of the day.
A peak hour. We look at peak hours. We look at the worst case hour, which I mentioned, the weekday AM commuter hour, the weekday evening commuter hour. Those are the worst case hours from a traffic impact.
So the data that you're looking at can't give me a number of how many cars you think are going to be extra on Hillside Avenue?
Per day?
Yes.
I could get that number for you. I don't have that number because, again, we focus on the hourly because, it's the worst case. If I told you a volume that was spread out through the course of, 12 hours, it sounds like a big number, but when you break it down over a 12-hour period, it's actually much smaller. So, we look at, again, we focus on those peak hour impacts because that's the worst case scenario impact on the roadway.
You can thank the previous expert, the one from last month, for punting the question. But can you tell me how many feet is it from the first stop sign to the curb on Hillside Avenue?
From which stop sign are you referring to,
From
sir?
the first stop sign as you enter the parking lot.
Would you mind just Just so I'm clear, would you mind just pointing it out to me?
If you're going in if you're going in on Hillside Avenue, before you get to the queue, to the drive-through queue, there's going to be a stop sign there, right, somewhere?
Correct, right.
So how many feet is it from that stop sign to the curb on Hillside Avenue?
So it's approximately 150 feet.
Okay. And how many feet is total, the queue, end to end?
I would have to measure that for you, sir. I know it can accommodate 39 cars. I don't have, unfortunately,
But you do have a number, right, somewhere? Do you know it fits 39 cars? There's going to be a number, right?
There is an associated link with that, sir. You're correct.
So what I can't understand is why the expert last week, which punted it to you, he said it was a traffic issue. You can't tell me how many cars you can fit in 150 feet?
I can certainly estimate how many cars you can fit in 150 feet.
Can you shoot me a number?
Sure. A car is anywhere, we assume, from 20 to 25 feet. So worst case scenario, if you assume 25 feet,
Right.
that would be 6 cars.
And do you think at any point, let me backtrack a minute. It was, in previous testimony, again, it was a question that was punted to you, so, don't blame me for it.
Yeah, I would not.
The turnaround time was figured in at 3 minutes during the course of the day, from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. when you close. The average turnaround time would have been 3 minutes. Is that right?
The average service time?
The average turnaround time, you're right, from when a car goes in to when a car comes out of either entrance or exit.
My understanding, it's more on the order of 6 to 8 minutes. Yeah.
Even better. Why is it that that's an average from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., right? Whatever it is, whether it's 6 minutes or 8, whatever. Is that correct?
Service time?
Yes.
Yeah, it's an average service time.
So the service time at lunchtime or at 6 p.m. or 4 p.m. could be more or less than that, right?
In my understanding, that you're really getting into operational questions, which I'm not an operational expert, unfortunately, but certainly, it's going to vary slightly. We use 6 to 8 minutes as the average.
Right, so when the turnaround time is high, whatever time of the day that might be, I'm guessing the lunch hours would probably be the longest, right? When you have the most amount of people there?
Not necessarily. They staff such that they know that there's going to be a peak demand, obviously, around lunch, around dinner. And again, that's really the genesis behind the dual order points, the dual fulfillment points. It's to make that drive-through operation.
You will agree that it could be much, much longer than that, right?
I would not agree with that, no, sir.
You wouldn't agree with that?
No.
Okay. You don't think that at any given point you're going to stack up more than 12 cars on that entrance or exit to Hillside Avenue?
More than 12 cars, and
that's what you said, it would fit in 150 feet, right?
I actually said it would fit 6 cars.
6 cars.
So, based on our evaluation of the site and based on our research at several existing facilities, we believe that the 39 vehicle stack that we're providing is more than sufficient to accommodate the drive-through queue demand. So we're not expecting it to exceed the 39 vehicle storage.
But you don't know that.
I don't know that. I'm just basing it on research studies that we've done, and again, it's my professional opinion.
Thank you.
For the record, how many cars can you accommodate in the drive-through line, double line?
39.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hi, Lauren Jankunas, 90 Hillside. I really just have one question. What is really stopping you from closing off the entrance exit and just making it emergency only? And just having these two on Route 22? Because to me, that would alleviate everything.
And physically, is that possible? Certainly.
It's not?
No, it is.
It is.
But again, it's not, and I apologize for not speaking into the mic. Based on my testimony earlier, the patrons are still going to use Hillside Avenue. So if they come down Hillside Avenue, they're just going to turn right on 22 westbound and then go into the subject property driveway. In my professional opinion, from an access management principle, it's a benefit to provide the access on Hillside so that they then don't have to go through the intersection of 22 and Hillside Avenue. They're allowed to enter the site prior to that intersection. So you're still talking about the same amount of traffic coming down Hillside Avenue to access the site?
No, because you're mitigating that whole problem and just surpassing it. Nobody's going to come around that way.
Again,
In my opinion. I mean, you're going to have more of the coming out and coming in from there and people trying to get in where they missed a turn, or I just don't understand why it can't be emergency only. And then that would be, alleviate all the problem. I don't mind Chick-fil-A being there. I just mind that it's going to be a huge hazard for safety reasons.
Sure, and again, based on the analysis that we prepared, based on both the level of service analysis and the accident evaluation, my professional opinion, the driveway is going to function in a safe and efficient manner.
Okay, that's all.
Thanks.
Weisse, 164 Hillside Avenue. I just have one question. Can I show you?
Sure.
My only concern, my major concern,
Ma'am, can you just...
my major concern.
I'm
is-
sorry, okay. Just make sure
It's
you're
very
on the
short.
mic.
My major concern is Hillside Avenue going to 22. This is for all the people who don't care about Philae, who are just going to Route 22. So they're going to Route 22 and they want to make this U-turn. I mean, they want to go east, right? So I'm worried about cars stacking up over here, or over here. Because if they back up here, and I'm going to make this turn, and these are all backed up, the people are going to go into this lane, and I won't be able to go into here. So I'm wondering whether you're saying that this U-turn is going to be unavailable to us, and we're going to have to go on Route 22 east, go over here.
Springfield.
Right. So, because I'm afraid cars are going to line up over here, and then more cars are going to be here, and it's going to be just where if they back up over here, it's going to be impossible to make this U-turn.
Sure, and that's a good question. And again, why we are proposing the access on Hillside Avenue for the proposed restaurant, because what that's doing is...
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry. You're blocking the camera so nobody can see where you're pointing.
my apologies.
Thank you.
Laser pointer.
I think we might be, can this microphone, if instead of the tabletop, if they need it? No? Okay. Forget it.
So, ma'am, again, one of the benefits to providing the access on Hillside Avenue is not requiring anybody that's coming south on Hillside that wants to enter the subject property to go through that intersection at Hillside Avenue and 22. If this access point wasn't here, you are correct. Anybody coming down Hillside Avenue would be then forced to stop at the intersection of 22 and Hillside Avenue, turn right onto 22 westbound to enter the subject property. But by allowing that access to be provided along Hillside Avenue, you're removing that traffic from the stream. And actually, you're going to take some of the existing cars that are utilizing Hillside Avenue to access 22 westbound that will become pass-by traffic that will actually enter the subject property, traveling south on Hillside, purchase their chicken, and then exit the site onto 22 westbound. So you'd actually potentially be removing some of the existing traffic on 22 westbound as a result of this redevelopment.
I just think when people slow down to go on Route 20, to enter on Route 22, when they slow down, the people who don't go into Chick-fil-A are going to be in the middle lane or in the left lane, and it's going to make it harder for people to make that quick U-turn.
So there is, fortunately, a full-width shoulder along our site frontage, so there is the ability for vehicles to actually get out of the westbound
It's a
through
very
lane.
narrow shoulder. You can't really stack cars there.
We're not assuming that anyone will be stacked in that shoulder because we are providing the right-of-way to vehicles entering the site. So they're not required to stop entering the site. If this was a stop line and everybody entering the site from 22 westbound had to come to a complete stop
Well,
before.
no, but they're going to be slowing down to 20 miles an hour.
They are, that's
Up-
correct,
up
but
to-
they
up
still.
to up to Hillside, they're going to be slowing. They're going to start slowing down at Hillside, so that they can get there. Anyhow, I just want to make one other comment. I went to Chick-fil-A in Union 3 Fridays ago at 5:30, and it took the time to go through the thing was 25 minutes. It wasn't 8 or 9 minutes. So high time, it was 25 minutes. So can you, if the traffic time is 25 minutes to go through, can you accommodate 100 extra people
Certainly
without backing up?
our intention for the site, and again, with providing the dual order points, the dual
Well,
fulfillment
Union
points.
has dual lines.
They do, but they don't have dual fulfillment. They have dual order points. So by providing the additional dual fulfillment points, certainly by providing this facility, it's our intention to process those vehicles as quickly as we can.
All right, just for the record, 25 minutes.
Thank you.
I'm
Sir,
sorry.
if you have a
can't-
question, you have to come up, state your name for the record, your address.
This is for the traffic engineer.
Yeah, that's why I asked originally if the question was applicable for an environmental study.
Did we get your name, sir?
No, Ken Webb, 40 Hillside Avenue,
Thank you.
and that was my question. Was there any environmental impact study done on this, or is that required? Is it applicable to this project?
Question has to be to the traffic engineer.
I don't
Is-
think it's a traffic question, do you? It's an
That's
environmental.
correct, so you can't answer at this point. I'm sorry.
Does anybody know if there has been, or has that ever been questioned and raised about idling cars? And I heard talk of a charging portals being put in there, and
You can ask that question at a different time during the proceeding,
when?
when there's general comments from the public.
And when will that be? Is that tonight?
I don't know. We're running out of time.
So that's not tonight, then when will I have to be back here?
I don't know. The next hearing presumably will be in April.
Will be in April. And there won't be any progress done on this project until then?
This project cannot go forward until this board makes a decision.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All of the application documents are also in Town Hall, sir. You can always obtain copies of the entirety of the application at Town Hall. You can go into I think the annex building, correct? You can go into the annex building and you can inspect the application, or you can ask for documentation yourself.
Thank you very much.
Yes, come on, up. Thank you.
He's a very nice fellow, by the way. I know it's late.
Yes, it is.
Oops, okay, like that. All right, my name is Dave Jensen. I'm from Elizabeth. I'm a county resident all my life. I'm glad to see a former member of our Freeholder Board is council, so he's very up on this stuff, which is good. So I just wanted to ask the young man something. This is not criticism, but I just wanted to ask you a question because I was intrigued. I have just 3 or 4 questions. I was intrigued by Mr. Chase's questions to you. My father was an engineer, a professional engineer. I know, can you hear me? Okay. I know that you have great respect for your association, for your membership. It's something they just don't give to you. You have to follow a few things. But my question is not against you personally, but I was intrigued by Mr. Chase's question about the study of traffic in Union. Did you do any study? I'm a teacher, okay, still working. Did you do anything about children in Springfield? How many kids are on bicycles? Because you can go to a Chick-fil-A. I've never been to one. I got McDonald's. Can you, children can come up to there, can't they, on the sidewalk with their bicycles and whatnot, if it was there?
There's certainly nothing precluding someone from riding a bike there.
All right. Did you do a study on how many kids in Springfield have bicycles?
We did not know.
Okay. Anywhere, and this is not, I'm not going against you for it, I'm just questioning, within your code of ethics of your professional training, like a bar degree or a law degree and a bar acceptance, does this ever come up where, because you said, and you're a great young man, you're very verbal and you're very articulate, you want to comply with the federal with the standards, 734, Mr. Chase, I think I misquoted that. But in your dealings, you have so many dealings with Chick-fil-A, doesn't this question ever pop up to you? Because you're a young guy, this is a foreseeable thing. I mean, I know Chick-fil-A is the third fastest growing, we all know that, franchise in America and all that other stuff. But I mean, kids are involved with this stuff. I mean, children. So have you ever heard, I'm not putting you on the spot and making this official, you have to go by this test, your answer. But I'm sure kids have been hurt going on their bicycles to these restaurants and things like that. You didn't do any study for the township? That's my question.
No, we didn't do any studies on bicycle traffic to and from the facility, sir.
All right, almost done here.
Sure.
I'm confused about, I understand they're going to have charging stations, and as Mr. Bergen know, the state of New Jersey has a grant program coming online where townships can compete for grants to open up charging stations. The rumor is, it's just a rumor we try from our local citizenry is that the state of New Jersey is really avid to have a charging station there. That's my question. Is that question? Is the state of New Jersey going to be separate from the charging activities of Chick-fil-A? Do you know?
I'm not sure exactly what your question is, sir. There is a new state statute, a new state law.
Well, the question maybe you can't answer. Maybe I should for another time for another witness. But is Chick-fil-A going to be in charge of the charging stations, or is the state of New Jersey? My question is: have you offered advice to the state of New Jersey, or on the matter of the charging stations, whether the efficacy of it and the safety of it and all the other stuff?
We're required by state statute to provide a certain amount of charging stations on site.
Right. Okay. Have you been approached? I'm sorry. Have you been approached by anyone other than the Chick-fil-A people about this?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
Okay. All right. Dave is fine. Okay. All right. Okay. Obviously, I'm concerned about accidents with children, with kids. This is the number one. It's bigger than Disney. Kids want to go to this. Teachers disease, no kids. So what? Lots of grandnephews. But kids love Chick-fil-A. We got to go. I remember when McDonald's first opened, the original McDonald's over here in Kenilworth Boulevard when I was in middle school. So what I'm trying to imply, Jeff, I'm just making an anecdotal aside here, is that I think it would be in great service to the public in front of this body to have, unless it's against your professional guidance, to suggest, well, there could be a problem here. We got to watch out for the kids. Maybe this is not a good idea, but I know, please, that's not said cynically or negatively or dismissively, but you know what I mean? That's what I'm suggesting. All right, that was a comment. Here's my last question, and I'll sit down. This is old ground. You said that you've worked on the Bloomfield project, the Garden State Parkway project?
No, sir.
Oh, you're not working on that one? Because they know they want to put one up there. Okay. Well, okay, and I just wanted to comment. Well, I'm going to text. You've got my emails, gentlemen and ladies. I'm going to share it with the board here. The Business Insider had an article recently, and it said that 30% of Chick-fil-A customers leave because the wait is so long. And the average for Chick-fil-A is right now, this is an open source business publication, Business Insider, I'll share it, is 8.5 minutes, whereas McDonald's is only 4 minutes. So in part of that article, the writer, who's a business writer, goes to the fact that it spills out. So part of your traffic studies, is that part of your traffic studies to tell the customer, the potential franchisee or company, how many cars are going to be spilling out onto the Hillside Avenue or otherwise?
It's part of our involvement in the application is to be forward thinking, take this data, design these new sites such that there is no spill out. So that's really what you see before you this evening.
All right. Well, that was it. Thank you. And please, you're a nice young man. You got it.
Appreciate that.
But please.
Not young either.
Well, to me you are. But don't let professional ethics get in the way of it's the co-pilot syndrome. Hey, there's some, speak up if you have to. All right. Okay.
Sorry if I might. I think you said something about emailing to the board members.
I'll share that article with you.
No, please do not email the board members. They can't consider anything
So
that isn't presented here at the
meeting. To you to share too?
You would have to present it here at a meeting.
Okay. All right. Okay. Can I mail it to you, or is it not? That's not apropos.
It has to be presented in public at a meeting.
Okay. Business Insider 2018. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bergen. All right. Great. Super.
Thank you. Any other members of the public have questions for the witness?
Lewis Cone, 120 Pitt Road. Lewis, L.E. That's my wife. Someone's kidnapped. Lewis Cone, Lewiscohn, 120 Pitt Road. Pitt, P-I-T-T Road. I just want to clarify I wasn't sure you said that 50% of the Route 22 westbound traffic is going to stop into Chick-fil-A during peak times?
No, sir, and I apologize for not being clear. So 50% of the traffic entering the site is considered to be pass-by in nature. So meaning,
I don't know what pass-by means.
Sure, so it's traffic that's already on the adjacent roadway network. So not 50% of the traffic on Route 22, but of the cars entering Chick-fil-A during that hour, half of them are already on Hillside Avenue or Route 22. So half of them are currently traveling west on 22 or north or south on Hillside, and then will now enter the property upon redevelopment.
So you're saying, let's say 1,000 cars are on Route 22?
No, it's not. It's not based on the 22 traffic volume. It's based on the
Okay.
volume entering the site.
Okay.
What I did say, though, was that we weighted the pass-by traffic heavier to 22 because obviously it's a higher volume.
So pass-by is how many cars are on the road?
Correct.
Okay,
Existing
and
cars-
how many of those cars will stop in Chick-fil-A?
So it varies by peak hour, but it's between 110 and 140 trips, which is an in and an out.
Thank you. Any other questions from the public for this witness? Okay,
I just have one question. I apologize.
no problem. Catherine, please.
So were actual traffic counts conducted at any of the nearby Route 22 sites, so the Watchung site or the Union site?
Just drive-through stacking.
Just drive-through second, no in and out
No,
traffic counts?
just we conducted peak hour queue counts. So focused on the total vehicles in the drive-through stack.
Are you familiar if the Watchung, I know you mentioned that the Union location does not have dual fulfillment, but it does have dual drive-through lanes. Are you familiar if the Watchung location has both dual drive-through lanes and dual fulfillment?
I know it has dual drive-through. I'd have to check if it has dual fulfillment or not.
Do you, in your professional opinion, do you think it could be helpful to take physical traffic counts during the peak hours at one or both of those locations because they are both fully operational as a way to compare it against the your traffic analysis based on the IT numbers?
We could. The only thing that I would caution is, in my opinion, given the proximity to the Union site, this site is certainly going to pull a portion of that existing traffic that's utilizing that facility, would now find it more convenient to utilize this facility. So it's something that can certainly be done, but I think that we may need to look at several other metrics to really evaluate those numbers to see how they would apply to this situation.
Sure, I just think as a point of comparison, I think page 8 of your traffic study had mentioned that the IT numbers are really like a worst case scenario, also because you started this site as if it was vacant, so you just added it as if it was new traffic. I just think it could be helpful potentially to take existing traffic counts at these other locations to see if it really is worst case scenario. Now I know that's not apples to apples. They have different drive-through queues. They're in different contexts. Particularly the Union location is like a very different context from this site. But I think it's located on the same highway corridor, and it could be a helpful point of comparison.
And we'll certainly take that under advisement.
Thank you. One other question: would you say that the parking layout proposed here of 177 spaces is typical or conventional for a fast food drive-through restaurant?
It's certainly on the upper end of what we see typically provided for a drive-through facility.
And are you aware if the spaces are contemplated to be utilized for anything other than servicing the Chick-fil-A business?
It's my understanding that if a secondary use or other utilization of those spaces were to be proposed, it would have to be subject to an additional application before the board.
Sure. And I would just caution the board that even before that other use, if this application is looked favorably upon, that because there is an excess of parking, that those spaces be restricted simply to the Chick-fil-A use. They're not, leased out for surface parking or truck parking or anything like that, or any commercial vehicles. Thank you.
Do you have any further questions?
Nope.
Okay. All right.
I'm playing with that button all day. Yeah,
Mr.
I know.
Hale.
Do it again.
Yes.
Well, looking at the hour, I would assume that we would be continue. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Do you have a question for the witness?
No. It's going to be open for other questions?
Yeah.
You said you were ready to call it quits.
No, I didn't. I just said I just asked Mr. Hale to come up and let me know if he has any further questions of his witness or.
Yeah, we have no further. I can again at this hour to continue on with further witnesses, but we would request that the case be carried, I guess, to the next meeting.
What's the meeting date?
Mike, do you know, April 19th?
Agenda perhaps at the bottom.
Let's see.
Well, I don't see anything that says April. You don't have any on my calendar. Just want to make sure we get it on the record.
I don't see it, Mike.
No?
The 19th. It's April 19th. That's right. 6 p.m. Okay, so with that, at each of these meetings, we have allowed the public an opportunity to comment. I would ask a couple of things. One, we've had a lot of previous comments. We're trying to avoid repetitive comments from the public. There is also going to be an opportunity for the public to speak at the close of the applicant's presentation. They still have additional witnesses, and so once all of their witnesses, they present their full case and all of their witnesses have testified, the public is then afforded an opportunity to speak on the application. However, as we've done in the past, 2 hearings, I will allow comments at this time. They're fresh in your mind, so if you'd like to get them out, we understand that. If you could please try to limit on time, we would like to, I know everyone's tired, we would like to get out of here reasonably, at a reasonable time. So, members of the public, if you wish to speak, the floor is yours.
Jacqueline Spencer, SPENCER, 100 Hillside Avenue.
At this time, before you make a comment, you must be sworn in.
Oh.
So please raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
I've lived in Springfield for 23 years. My kids grew up here. I love Springfield. Bringing a drive-through restaurant to Springfield, Hillside Avenue, a residential area, will change the makeup of our community. It will increase traffic. It will cause pollution by maybe 500 cars, maybe 1,000 cars, maybe idling 8 minutes, maybe idling 25 minutes. We have kids going up and down Hillside Avenue. It will endanger their lives by the increased traffic up and down Hillside Avenue. Although maybe a larger part of cars will enter through Route 22, there will be a lot of people who will come from Mountain Avenue, who will come from South Springfield Avenue, who will loop around Milltown Road to go to Hillside Avenue to Chick-fil-A. I don't mind having a restaurant in that location. The issue is having a drive-through who's requesting variances for signs, for lights, for fencing. It's a lot. It's a lot. I love our community. It would be great if it can stay just a little while longer like it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, yes. Please come up.
My name is Alan Weiss. I lived in Springfield at Hillside Avenue for 52 years. I'm the lesser half of the lady that spoke before.
Mr. Weiss, if you would please be sworn in. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
I had some correspondence that I wanted to share with the board, and Ms. Law told me I should present it at this meeting, and that's why I'm here tonight. It just consists of 2 letters, very short, and I'd like to read them to you. On January 23rd, I wrote James Daunt, the CEO of Barnes & Noble, to find out what their connection was with this whole project. And he wrote me back a 1-paragraph answer, so it's less than 5 minutes it'll take to present all this. Dear Mr. Daunt.
It's a letter that you wrote?
It's a letter I wrote.
Okay.
And then his response.
The response.
You have to, it's meaningless unless you don't.
Mr. Hale, your objection is noted, but I think there's no real, the strict rules of evidence don't apply. The board can take it for what it's worth based on the testimony. I think it would be admissible if maybe not relevant.
Thank you. Dear Mr. Daunt, only quite recently were Springfield residents made aware that a deal was in progress that would involve demolishing your Springfield store with replacement of chicken fillet establishment. As a matter of fact, a full plan is now under consideration by the zoning board, which is considering a number of variances. Approval of this application thus seems likely that this will result in a fait accompli without the citizens of Springfield ever being sounded out about the desirability of such an event. As a longtime resident of Springfield, I was shocked to learn this. The loss of Barnes & Noble to Springfield and to surrounding towns such as Short Hills, Milburn, Summit, and Union would be tragic. Barnes & Noble has been a jewel in our midst, providing education and cultural rewards that we have all come to cherish. I know all about bottom lines, and I'm aware that there's nothing strictly illegal about this plan. But the loss of B&N to our communities would be immeasurable. I know that the COVID epidemic has greatly affected sales and raises doubts about the future, but there still remains a possibility
Mr.
of
Weiss.
future success.
Slow. We have a stenographer. She's typing everything. For the record, slower, please, for that
I'll
she
slow
can...
down. I wanted to get under the timeline. Where shall I begin? Would be immeasurable. I know that the COVID epidemic has greatly affected sales and raises doubts about the future, but there still remains the possibility of future success. I hope there is time for you to rethink such a decision and ensure continued service for so many past customers in the future. You very kindly wrote me back a very brief message which clarified some of the doubts that were in my mind. Dear Mr. Weiss, please be assured that we would dearly like to continue selling books from this store and leave only at the behest of the landlord. We do not own the site. With the lease at its end, we are obliged to follow the landlord's instruction to vacate so the redevelopment can proceed. We share your regret. Thank you for your words and support. At a sad moment, they are comforting. With kind regards, James Daunt, CEO, Barnes & Noble. Well, our point being made is that what is legal and possible frequently or sometimes may not be to the benefit of the community involved with this, such a transaction, and hope this somehow will seep through to your consciences when you come to a decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like a copy of this?
Oh, no, thank you. You read it into the record. It is now part of the transcript. Thank you very much. Other members of the public?
Dr. Weiss.
I'm sorry.
He treated me once.
My apologies, Dr. Weiss.
No, he's a great doctor. Okay. David Jensen again. David Jensen, not David Jensen again. David Jensen, Elizabeth, Union County resident. Oh, yes. Sure, Mr. Berg.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
I affirm.
Thank you.
Okay. Springfield has a great historical tradition. If it had not been for the Battle of Springfield in June of 1780, the British would have continued. It is well known that the British would have continued on into Morristown to wreak havoc with Washington's army bivouac there. 1780 was the winter, 1779, 1780 was the worst winter of the continental experience. The horses were dying, they were eating them. Sorry, I'm getting emotional here. I don't believe this. I'm not good at this. And if it had, oh, here, get it going. And if it had not been for the leadership of Nathaniel Greene with 1,500 Continental soldiers and 500 random Springfield farmers, 5,000 Hessians, a troop of 5,000 British and German Hessians would have gone through Hobart Gap Road, right up the hill here, which was the last defensive position before Morristown. I'm a history teacher. I do better in school than this. If it had not been for the Battle of Springfield, Washington's army probably would have been captured. But because of the resistance here, and the sad fact, as we all well know, that the Cannonball House down here on 24 is the last remaining, I think it's the last remaining building of a fire. They burned the whole town down, the British. And because of that, General Clinton, no relation to Clinton, New Jersey, or Clinton in America, in England decided no more invasions of the North, let's go to Virginia. So Springfield was the pivotal, the Battle of Springfield was the most pivotal battle, you could argue, of the Northern Campaign. So what's this got to do with Barnes & Noble? Well, what it's got to do with Barnes & Noble is that Chick-fil-A is I have issues with Chick-fil-A, but it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit the Springfield. It doesn't fit its tradition, the people around it, where it was. I remember Prince Farms, for anyone knows that, the ground that Barnes & Noble is on, that was a farm when I was a kid. Let farms go. So anyway, my point is this. It's just that it doesn't fit. It's not a good idea. And I know the property owners, and I'm not going to reveal the name because that's not polite, but they're good people. And it sounds like from the correspondence and Dr. and Mrs. Dr. Weiss got from Barnes & Noble that there might be a way out of this where they could renegotiate the lease and continue. But that's pretty much it. I just think it's not a good idea. Okay, that's all. Thank you so much. I do better in school than I don't do this. That was my problem.
Any other member of the public that wishes to speak now?
Stephanie Matute, 50 Hillside, Springfield Avenue. I think, quite frankly, sorry.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
I think that this is going to be a tragic having a Chick-fil-A in the area. There are kids, there's elderly people. Quite frankly, like the gentleman stated, it just doesn't fit. Like, you move to Springfield, many people have lived in Springfield many years, or some have moved in, right? Like, basically any house for sale goes pretty quickly. I just think it's going to be tragic. Like, pollution, the idling, the emissions, the, rodents that are going to be all over, the burglaries, the car accidents. I just don't think it's a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that wishes to speak at this time? Thank you very much, members of the public. We appreciate you coming out. April 19th, we're going to carry no new notice.
Correct. There'll be, April 19th, the matter's carried. There'll be no new notice published or mailed.
Okay. And it will be, again, in person.
6 p.m. in this room in person.
Right.
That's correct.
That is right.
Thank you very much and appreciate your time. And see you next month.
Thank you.
Take care now.
Move to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.